Alright, so a tweet came across my timeline today that highlights a story that apparently happened, and I think that this is honestly a very good story to just take a look at because, I've covered so many different topics here on the channel where I completely disagree with, the method of parenting, right? Where, it just seems like all it does is cause some sort of harm in the situation. It's not really teaching your kid anything. Or there's not enough discipline even being laid down, and that's why the kid kind of behaves that way. And, we've taken a look at all kinds of different situations like that, so I kind of wanted to switch up the pace a little bit and actually take a look at a situation that I think turned out well. I mean, maybe not for the kid necessarily. Well, eventually it should turn out pretty well. Because usually the more mature you get and whatnot, you kind of realize some of the things your parents did to, try and teach you lessons and things like that. So I guess in the short term, this isn't really too great for the kid, but I mean, things happen, when you're acting like a complete douche, you kind of have to get taught sometimes, right? Sure, that might be one of the more, I guess, uncomfortable parts of being a parent is the fact that sometimes, you have to step in and, not be cool with your kid for a little bit, but I mean, in order to, have a kid who's not going to end up like a complete psychopath, just degenerate to society, you kind of have to be able to do that, right? You got to be able to put your foot down, so I guess we're just going to go ahead and jump directly into this one. I don't really want to waste a whole lot of time because I have a lot of stuff I want to say. So, AITA for making my son give up the signifiers of wealth at school, designer clothes and sneakers, being driven in nice cars because he was making fun of kids for being less wealthy than us. I'm a mother to a teenage boy. The father is hardly in the picture. He pays child support and that's about it. He is very absent otherwise. Another relevant thing, I'm pretty well off. I work in technology. My son's father is extremely wealthy, and the court order for child support is enough to pay for the best for my son. He goes to a fairly competitive private school, is in a lot of extracurriculars that cost a decent bit, etc. I found out from school administration just this month that my son had been bullying several other students for being less wealthy, for being dropped off at school in budget sedans, for not having name brand clothes that are not as expensive as other name brands. I was appalled by his behaviors. I had a talk with him about how this was wrong and also about how it's not something that he should have any personal pride in. He has no job, no savings, no investments, no wealth of his own. By totally random chance, he happened to be born into good circumstances, and that's it. The school administration and I arranged an apology between him and all of the kids that he was bullying. I also decided that this year we're thrift shopping for clothes, no more brand name sneakers or clothing, and rather than driving him to school and activities in the Porsche or the Jaguar, subtle flex, I'm driving him everywhere in my 92 Jeep that was one of my first cars that I mostly keep around for nostalgia and off-roading. It's really beaten up, I've rolled it, taken off the doors, tried to fix the paint with rattle cans at one point. And for any activities he joins, he can borrow club equipment instead of getting his own bought. He was really upset about it all, especially being driven to school and activities in the Jeep. He said that it was causing problems with his friends, he was looking bad at school. His friend parents, they didn't want their kids getting in such an old vehicle with no doors. He also said that it was embarrassing for him to pretend that he was poor. His dad, who overall has been very absent, got upset with me because apparently word has gotten around his circles that his son was being driven around town in a, quote, junker, and I was making him use club gear for sports instead of his own, and that was not a fair punishment because, quote, impressions matter and it will affect the rest of his life. AITA, which by the way stands for Am I the Asshole, I believe, for having this approach to parenting my son who was bullying other kids for being poor. I didn't buy him new designer things or drive him places in luxury cars anymore. We shop at thrift stores, and if I'm taking him to school, I drive a car from 92. Alright, so that was kind of a lot to unpack, so I guess we'll just go ahead through here and just kind of talk about each point, because, like I said, there's a lot of situations I cover where parents, I feel like, go overboard and do the wrong thing. Oh, my kid's not going to sleep at the exact time I want him to during a pandemic where he doesn't have physical school. Let me destroy the Minecraft world he's been putting hours into. Or, hey, my kids are getting bad grades. Let me not actually try to help them with their homework or buy them a tutor. Let me instead destroy several $100s worth of their video games right in front of them for a viral internet video. I see things like that and they just confuse me, right? Because it's I would feel like maybe the average person would realize maybe I shouldn't take it that far. But this is a situation in which I'm completely cool with it. You know what I'm saying? I fully agree with this. So just to kind of give a little bit of personal experience here, it wasn't I wore thrift shop clothes, Dollar Tree clothes or anything to school. I usually wore Nike. That was what I was pretty big into in high school. And don't get me wrong, Nike is not cheap clothing, but I mean, compared to these other name brands that I'm assuming this kid's probably wearing if his parents are driving him to school in a Porsche or a Jaguar, brands like Nike and Adidas and all that, they I guess are quote-unquote poor people clothes simply because, you're not spending hundreds if not thousands of dollars on a Louis Vuitton outfit or something crazy. Do they even make Louis Vuitton clothes? Yeah, they do. I'm dumb. I don't even know what I'm talking about. That's how much I really know about designer clothes, dude. I don't pay attention to it for real. Now, I do want to just say this because, I mean, I just feel like it's something that should be pointed out. Having your dad not be in your life does a lot, especially to young men, and it creates a lot of, like, personal psychological issues, right? Like, as much as people don't seem to realize it, kids really do need their parents in their life, you know? And just having child support come through, even if it is a lot of money, that's not really enough to, I guess, supplement that father figure role in your life. Now, this kid definitely obviously has like a decent life going on or whatever, right? Because like he gets to go to a competitive private school. He's getting driven to school in a fucking Porsche every day. Name brand clothing, doesn't have to worry about food when he goes home or anything like that. A lot of people, I think, take having that kind of privilege way for granted. Like if you get like decent clothes and you get to go to a private school and you got food in front of you, 3 square meals a day, you live better than the vast majority of people on planet Earth. And if your family's so well off that you're pulling up to class in a Porsche, you're probably eating more than just 3, maybe TV dinner-esque meals a day, and you're getting to do all these extracurricular sports and clubs and stuff like that, you are living much better than like a lot of people like here in the first world, like in the United States and Canada and stuff like that. Which even then, compared to a lot of places on Earth, is just, it's miles away, right? So the problem is especially when you're young and you don't really realize a lot of what's going on in the world and you just think that like, oh, these brands make me matter and kind of thing, is stuff like this happens. And that has to be nipped in the bud like pretty quickly, I think. So I think this is probably the best way you could have done it because, I mean, if you just like have a stern talking to him, like that's not going to be enough to make him stop. The amount of, I guess, pride that he had built up on the fact that his family was rich, that his parents were both rich, I guess, or whatever. Especially when you're younger, man, like that just, it's something that they don't process well, you know? Because, like, you know, I feel like every school has those rich kids that are just complete assholes. And, you know, I went to school with a lot of them. You know, their parents were fucking doctors or brain surgeons or lawyers or something. And so they live in the nicest houses in town, and they pretty much get anything and everything they want. They get to go to school in a brand new car. You know, I went to school with a lot of people like that, and I think a lot of the reason why kids act that way is because their parents don't do anything, right? And like this post says, like, they don't realize that it's not something for them to be proud of. I mean, if you're the parents and you're making this money, sure, you can take personal pride in that, right? Like, hey, I do very well for myself. I provide very well for my children. But bro, when you're a kid and your parents are just giving you everything, that is not a fucking accomplishment. Even to this day, like, you know, I could probably buy a pretty nice car, right? I could drive around in something nice. I still drive a 2001 car, okay? And I don't have a problem doing that because even though, like, yeah, I could have a fucking super sweet car or whatever, I'm completely content with the car that I have, you know? I don't feel like I need, I guess, a really nice car to make myself feel good. And I think that's a problem with a lot of these kids who grew up really rich, is that, like, they become so used to that lifestyle that it just, like, really fucks with them. So I think the best way to kind of detox the kid's mind in that situation is to kind of put them into a different perspective. Because I think that's also a type of approach that vast majority of people also don't use. We as people, I think, are, like, naturally programmed to, like, think of our own perspective, right? Because, like, you know, if you were too busy thinking about other stupid shit 500,000 years ago or whatever, and you were getting chased down by a fucking apex predator in the middle of God knows where, there was a good chance that you fucked up and died, right? Like, you were just done because, oh, you were too busy thinking about everything else, but you weren't focusing on your own priorities and perspectives, right? So I feel like for so long, that's kind of been the way that we've, like, hardwired, I guess, ourselves to think because of survival. But now in, like, an age where, like, you don't have to wake up every day and go forage for fucking food out in the woods or anything crazy, I feel like we still have that natural instinct to only really think from our own perspective instead of actually kind of considering other people's. But doing this kind of thing here kind of forces that, right? Because it's like, oh, now I'm the person that I was making fun of, and I think that that's good, you know? I think that's good for people in these situations. So I don't think it helps, though, that the dad it seems like a very pretentious asshole. Because God forbid somebody says that his kid isn't wearing fucking, you know, some ridiculously expensive outfit and is driving around town in a junker or whatever, right? So I think that that's a lot of the problem too, is maybe he's like seen his dad behave that way at some point and like he thinks that that's the right way maybe to act, and his dad's just not enough, I guess, in his life to really like either try and teach him different, or unfortunately he might be teaching him worse. But, and then on top of that, you know, if your friends, right, and I guess this really fits for anyone, right, if your friends don't want to be around you and don't want to be cool with you because you're not wearing nice clothes or you're getting around in an old vehicle, then those people just simply aren't your fucking friends. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, for the most part, I am still friends with people that I met in like 4th grade, that I was friends with in like 4th grade. And I know that if I wasn't a YouTuber or whatever and I was working some fucking fast food job or something like I was in high school when I was friends with these people, I know for a fact that they would still be my friends because I was actually friends with people like that when I was living in a working class household, working in the back of a fucking pizza place, you know what I'm saying? So those people just aren't your friends if that's the way that they act. But I mean, you look at situations like this and I think that you can kind of learn a lot. I mean, this might have just been a story made up to bullshit on Reddit, which, I mean, if so, it's a pretty realistic story, so I think that it really still kind of holds weight. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. Thank you to my channel members, your support helps my channel tremendously, and until my next video guys, this is Optimus, well, thinking this is some good parenting honestly, and signing out.